Today is the first day of summer in 2023. In comparison of 2022, summer for me was literally not much of a summer like it was in the years of 2019 to 2021. Mainly the fact that I cancelled Summer Palooza 4 last year, and this year I'm gonna be doing it for real, but not in the same way as it was back then. I was really waiting to make a lonely vibes video centering around Summer Palooza ever since I started doing these videos since the year began. And since they were officially on the first day of summer of this year, it really shows that my channel has changed over the last 2 years. The last 2 years, mainly in 2021, was the year where I finished Summer Palooza 3 and make the most out of it once one video has been uploaded for each day. And believe me, this was an experience that made me just go all out on my pride of videos and the fact that I wanted to do a lot more interesting ideas and try to make the season of summer really special. But considering that I've already did everything and just pour out my heart and soul in Summer Palooza 3, why should I top it? Because as far as I'm concerned, it would just probably take out more out of me than what I accomplished in 2021. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss my experiences of Summer Palooza's 1 from 2019, Summer Palooza 2 from 2020, and Summer Palooza 3 in 2021. I got to say, 2019 was literally a year that felt like I'm gonna be moving on completely from school and college and try to pursue other activities, but keep in mind, that was 4 years ago. And 2019 was a year where opportunities could happen or not, and this was also around the time where I wasn't into We Bare Bears or Steven Universe, so basically any other cartoons that you've witnessed since the channel has been growing since then. And to get this out of the way, I didn't call my August 2019 schedule Summer Palooza. I didn't come up with a name. You see, the name Summer Palooza, even if it's maybe generic at first, was an ideal that I wanted to think of in order to make the summer of 2019, mainly the month of August, really good. And believe me when I say this, this month was literally filled with basically ideals of summer activities, all the while it's mainly about enjoying yourself in the beach, or basically something that I usually glorified back in the day, because this may be weird to think about it, but I actually glorify materials that I want to use them for schedules like Summer Palooza, which is why that you usually see episode reviews like the SpongeBob Big Birthday Blowout that premiered months before I made this video. And while I was not being completely fair towards this episode, I only did this idea because I wanted to do something interesting and wanted to do something special in the month of summer. Believe me when I say this, whenever I think about doing these videos and just doing them for a random date, it just didn't feel natural. I know it's weird to think about it, but believe me when I say this, these videos, even though that they could have been done much more earlier on rather than later, I really wanted to make Summer Palooza, the very first, despite not calling it, a really good month to enjoy. Believe me. even though that I didn't structure my schedules completely in the first Summer Palooza, I really did a lot involving Summer Palooza 1, because I reviewed 2 iCarly specials, iPsycho and iFight Shelby Marks. I've done quite a lot of Equestria Goers material, and most of the episodes that I talked about were literally the ones that I actually enjoyed when I remember the most. Believe me, these episode picks were weird to think about, but in my own sort of way of enjoying the summer back then while doing other projects in the meantime, it kind of works like that. It may be weird to think about it, but it works in a way that I actually remember these episodes and found enjoyment from these episodes a lot more than others. Though then again, that's probably because I'm literally the only one making these videos and literally just sorting them out in these types of schedules. Trust me when I say this. This month's schedule was supposed to be entertaining, but also supposed to be full of relaxation. While I do take the videos seriously, there are some occasions like the beach, fanfics, and episodes were literally the main attraction of them all, but let's just say that I didn't focus on them completely. Like, I still do them. Like, I still review beach episodes in the later Summer Paloozas that I'm gonna get to later, but though so little of them that you will probably see how little to do what Summer Palooza is in comparison of what I'm gonna be doing for this year's Summer Palooza. Now, I'm gonna be really honest with you that doing these beach materials when it comes to doing a review that is a beach episode from a show, I was just trying to do a lot, and I mean a lot, in order to make this feel like a beach holiday. But if a beach holiday does exist, then I would be mostly committed into making it special involving beaches, like mainly people enjoying themselves and just doing different techniques. But I'm not really much of a beach expert. Like, I do make reviews off of beach material, but when it comes to real life, it's a different story entirely. Then again, this is fiction. Well, fiction sometimes isn't real most of the time, and whenever you try to turn it into real life, it just feels a bit off. Not really off, but just not what you want it. When it comes to doing special videos, I'm not going to be talking about the Hannah Montana material. I'm going to be talking about that later. I did a top 10's video games endings. Why did I do that? Because, well, to be perfectly real with you, I really like video games back then, and I want to do something special when it comes to doing a top 10's endings, all the while just doing something special for the sake of making this Summer Palooza a lot more entertaining to go through. Though then again, that's probably because I was so in the zone in the summer of that day, and even though that regardless if it doesn't have much to do with summer and beaches for that matter, at the very least, I want to make Summer Palooza very exciting and really good to sit through. Granted, it may be over the top, sure, but keep in mind, I really wanted a lot out of the first Summer Palooza. And to be perfectly real with you, the problems that I'm going to be addressing, I'm going to address them much more later, because there is a reason onto why I haven't gone back to these shows. With Wizards of Waverly Place, the crazy 10-minute sale being literally the only episode I've talked from Wizards of Waverly Place and never again. Yeah. There was so much going on back then that I really was over my head, but I had to make the most out of it. But let's get into the second Summer Palooza in the following year. While the first Summer Palooza happened in August, in July of 2020, Summer Palooza took place during that month, which I'm going to express once I get into more of the details later, but I'm just going to say this right now that Summer Palooza 2 was an experiment, to say the least. Like, the first one was an experiment, but in this, I I really went into full focus into the videos that I make. Granted, I didn't make scripts aside from the fanfics, but believe me when I say this, judging of how some of these videos aged right now, I'm gonna be really honest with you, it's really, really difficult to look back into these videos of how time has been different since the new material came out, and judging of how it's difficult to look back into some of these videos, it's really saying something. I'm gonna be really honest with you, the reviews of Summer Palooza 2 are still good. Believe me when I say this, if you would probably try to do these videos in the state that I was in, it's not that complicated because you have a lot to say involving episodes, involving Jenny being dressed up but in hot flames, which is something that people don't usually do, but robots can do in this scenario, along with the YouTuber tributes that I did, which, in all honesty, I was literally on supporting so many YouTube channels at the time that nowadays I can't do that because of my abilities, but disabilities and my lack of interest. But back then, I really wanted to fill up the entire month of July from beginning to end with a video being uploaded. Believe me, this month, while some of which have been aged poorly, will a lot more focus into it, because the Shaolin Showdown Evil Rumuno trilogy was literally one of the final videos that I had to make for Summer Palooza 2, and it was around the time where I was burned out at Shaolin Showdown at the time. And I'm gonna be really honest with you, I was really wanting this to be a very special month, considering that I haven't done this in the previous Summer Palooza, mainly the Shaolin Showdown video. And if you really think that wasn't enough, the fanfics that I wrote, which involves Equestria Girls, I'm gonna be really honest with you, I was still in the zone of Equestria Girls around that time, and while the following month, Equestria Girls is gonna be taken over, but I'm gonna get to that later, I really wanted this entire month to be mainly about camping, all the while so much good stuff going on. And believe me, camping was literally the only thing I had in mind when it comes to doing a fanfic out of. And a wave race, I'm gonna be really honest with you, I really was into watercrafts, mainly when it comes to the game of Wave Race 64, and I can guarantee you, for anyone who remembered Wave Race 64 will probably remember the watercrafts the most. If you pretty much didn't understand what I did in this story, then I can guarantee you that you haven't played Wave Race before. Though then again, I'm not blaming you completely, considering that you either were focusing on other ideas in the meantime or just doing other projects. But my point is that they felt like summer material for me to talk about. And when it comes to what I had back at the time, I was still not into We Bear Bears, and considering that July was the month that I was starting to watch more We Bear Bears and Steven Universe episodes since I got into them, it's really saying something that I could have done a lot more better with my Hurricane Ha review. Because all I did was just see what is the best episodes of We Bear Bears, and I just saw this and I decided to make a review out of it. That's literally the thing that I did in order to make We Bear Bears qualify for Summer Palooza 2. But it's really saying something that when it comes to the other projects that I made, mainly an internet movie wrapping up the entire month of Summer Palooza 2, it's weird. Like, sometimes my perspective may be a little too far, considering that I've been looking into these movies way more differently than other people, and I do see perspectives on other people's opinions towards medias like this around at that time, but trust me when I say this, I just really felt like I wanted to do a lot, and I do mean a lot of specialty when it comes to doing these types of videos. Like, the Changeling story that I did was mainly there because Queen Chrysalis was one of my favorite antagonists of My Little Pony, and doing a fanfic centered around her and doing a video for Summer Palooza 2 just felt appropriate. And when it comes to the Pokemon 2000 video, believe me, if I wasn't going to be able to do this video in that month, on the day where it came out nearly 22 decades ago, on that day of July 21st, 2020 or something, 2020, then it just won't work. It just doesn't work like that. Like, it may be on the fact that I've been way into this stuff way more than necessary, but let me tell you, it's either do these videos at the right day, at the right time, or it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. Like, these schedules, I've done these videos for the right time in order to make them work. And believe me when I say this, even though that I've been over-exaggerated when it comes to Pokemon the movie 2000s is what made the franchise better in the Golden Age, it's mainly my knowledge and how I was still into stuff like this back at the day. Though nowadays, that's a completely different story. That even though that some of the stuff that I still watch, like Jimmy Neutron, is still something that I do nowadays, believe me, if I had the ability to do these videos right now, it just won't work. Believe me, it would never, ever, 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 ever work. Believe me, it's really saying something of how you literally do a month dedicated to summer, and yet at the same time, you're literally doing multiple things at once in order to make summer glorified. And this is all in July. I didn't even talk about what I did in the following month in August of 2020. But again, I'm going to be saving that for later. Let's get into Summer Palooza 3 in 2021. If you thought Summer Palooza 2 was complicated, then you haven't seen Summer Palooza 3, because I did so much to the point that if you had a marathon of watching Summer Palooza 3, it would take you days or even weeks if you're ever interested into basically what I contribute in the month of Summer 2021, because Summer 2021 was at the time where COVID-19 was slowly going away, despite the sickness of others going into hospitals and completely trying to get the COVID-19 out of the systems, still are being active despite being slowly going away. This month was literally a specialty of what Summer Palooza, not really Summer Palooza, but what summer is when it comes to everyone else around them. So, I got a feeling that this was out at the right time in order to celebrate Summer Palooza. And believe me when I say this, even though that you may disagree with me, believe me when I say this, this wasn't really simple, and in comparison, I did way more, and it's literally all in reviews. This month was mainly focusing on cartoons that I haven't talked about, like Summer Camp Island, Elliot from Off, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, just to name a few. And believe me, that's not even scratching the surface of what I did to Summer Palooza 3. Aside from reviewing material that I've talked about in the past, mainly the cartoons that I did talk about in the past and I want to do something special with them was literally the main attraction of what I did for Summer Palooza 3. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you ever take into consideration of what my contributions were in cartoons and whatnot, this is literally it. Because this was around the time where I was so into cartoons and animation that animation back then was really a great thing to experience. Granted, nowadays it's beyond the case, but there was a reason onto why I did a top 3 Affinity Trains episodes from each season. It's how much I was so into animation back then, to the point that I wanted to make this Summer Palooza 3 better and also full of surprises. Believe me when I say this, even if I do not watch these shows like I did in the past, I still I can still capture the vibes that I made back in the day. Because let me tell you, quantity over quality is something that shouldn't be overlooked, but when it comes to Summer Palooza 3 and doing all this, it feels like I want to express everything of what I experienced for the first time. Believe me when I say this, I really liked animation, especially shows like Infinity Train and Elliot from Earth. Granted, I didn't catch up with Elliot on Earth completely, unlike Infinity Train, mainly binge watching it full time. But at the same time, it really shows that the vibes that I created have become really great vibes that I want to relive again and again, which I'm really thankful that I managed to do, because I'm pretty sure I won't be able to make any of these videos at all, not even close. And with one of the final videos being Rugrats in Paris, the movie being one of those scrapped ideas, being close to one of those scrapped ideas, I guess you can say that Rugrats in Paris manages to make it in Summer Palooza 3, even though that I'm not a fan of the Rugrats. I know this is way too juvenile and way too stupid to think about, but I always think that whenever I make these videos, they feel like actual living people, because they deserve more attention, and the companies and shows that they make, that they represent the most, was literally something that I want to give more attention to when they get uploaded. And this was back in the day when I didn't use Twitter, but I still used DeviantArt and other stuff. It really feels like that back then I wanted to do a lot more in order to do something different every single time. Like I've already mentioned the top 3 Affinity Train episodes, so let's get into other projects that, let's just say, I was really into the zone a lot more than necessary. Like the top 20 classical video games. It did poorly, and it was one of the most complicated videos that I've made for Summer Palooza 3, but I'm gonna be really honest with you, it's literally the point. I really enjoyed making this video because I want to do something similar to my top 10 video game endings, so I made a top 20 classical video games list. And in all honesty, it didn't need to be made, but to be real with you, it's literally the only way to make Summer Palooza 3 feel like the other ones again. Mainly the first one when I did the video game list, and when it came to the Shaolin Showdown video, making it a separate video involving the Dark Side Omi trilogy, while in 2020 I did the Evil Raimundo trilogy. I was really trying a lot in order to make this month really special, even though that it's difficult for people to get into the content that are years or decades old. But I'm gonna be really honest with you, this is one of the reasons onto why I mostly miss my ability to do Summer Palooza material. Like, granted, I went a little overboard at times, but the thing is, that's literally the point. I really miss doing these videos, and it's really a shame that I don't have the ability to do them anymore. And believe me, I haven't even gotten to another video that is a lot more complicated, and yet at the same time, it's supposed to be a fanfic reading, and since that people don't usually watch my fanfic readings that much, it's really saying something. So before we get to that, let's go talk about the final days of Summer Palooza, or the final week of Summer Palooza in this case. If you really want to know onto how the layout videos were like on just trying to wrap up things completely is mainly looking at cartoons that were released recently in order to be the ones that can close out Summer Palooza, or schedule in this case, which in all honesty, that was my true intentions. Steven Universe the movie is a big example of that, because as far as I'm concerned, I was really trying a lot in order to make this really special by, I kid you not, in the background music of Steven Universe the movie review, I literally put out a lot of background music and instrumentals from the Steven Universe movie. Trust me when I say this, it was a pain. And considering I ended up doing that for my MCU movies reviews later on, and a few aspects in other videos, it just wasn't fun, but at the same time, I wanted to make the video special. Like, regardless if these shows came to an end and it's really late to review them, at the same time, it was still a long time coming to make these videos really work. And as far as I'm concerned, judging of how that the fanfic reading I did was literally 4 hours and 11 minutes long, I really did a lot more than necessary. Like, this was the first fanfic that I did outside of My Little Pony and the Crusty Girls. This was We Bear Bears material, and there's a reason onto why I haven't talked about a We Bear Bears episode in Summer Palooza 3, and the fact that I talked about the We Bear Bears movie after August of 2020. Trust me when I say this, I highly doubt that you will be able to sit through this entire video, but like, with this being the longest video of Summer Palooza 3, it would be pain in order to sit through this entire video once. And while I understand that I don't do fanfics like I used to, it doesn't change the fact that this video itself was literally the first Summer Palooza 3 video that I completed. And it was all back in April of 2021, several months before it finally uploaded on August 2020. I gotta be really honest with you, as much as I was a little overboard at times, can you really blame me? I really wanted this month to be really good, and I did so much to the point that even if you may say I've been over-exaggerating and going over quantity over quality, I at least tried to make the most out of it. Because nowadays, I have limitations. And for me personally, what I have in store for this year's Summer Palooza, it's not going to be the same like it was in Summer Paloozas 1 through 3. Like, it really feels like that Summer Paloozas 1, 2, and 3 felt like a trilogy of an anthology of a playlist of videos, because that's what it really feels like. But at the same time, it actually meant something to me that I wanted to do a lot more in order to showcase ideals, in order to showcase my perspective off of other things that I wasn't able to do in other schedules. Like, my schedules back then were a little bit more focused, but at the same time, making the videos were a lot more complicated. And since that I don't usually look into these cartoons nowadays, it kind of shows onto how a lot has changed when it comes to my YouTube content. Believe me when I say this, I wanted to do Summer Palooza 3 style again, with the reviewing videos off of other materials while also doing fanfics along the way, but at the same time, it's all faded away. But again, I need to talk about the months that happened before and after the Summer Paloozas. Granted, these don't qualify as extensions or expansions of Summer Palooza, well, aside from the Hannah Montana Marathon, but if I'm gonna be really honest with you, back in before the first Summer Palooza, I did a Hannah Montana Marathon which I was originally going to do an iCarly marathon, but I changed my mind to do a Hannah Montana marathon. And as much as I understand I made a poor decision, my intention is that in the months of July or August, if Summer Palooza isn't active during those months, I would do a month or a marathon dedicated to a show. And I'm gonna be really honest with you, the reasons onto why Hannah Montana, mainly from the fourth season, were part of Summer Palooza 1, is because I was really doing other things around the time. Like, I didn't take marathons seriously, so I did other videos. While the videos that I've uploaded involving Hannah Montana were literally all the focus, but at the same time, though mainly just filling up my video slots for the sake of just doing something on that day. And then once we get into Summer Palooza, or after Summer Palooza, it's mainly of what is yet to come and what isn't, because the second Summer Palooza was literally about, after the second Summer Palooza was Equestria Girls Month. Granted, it may be debatable on how I accomplished in the second Equestria Girls, since I've talked about it almost a week ago, but if I'm gonna be really real with you, this was an opportunity for me to talk about the digital Season 1 shorts of Equestria Girls. And when it comes to the two fanfics that I did, I was literally just trying to make this month a lot more special, considering that after Summer Palooza, I knew I can't be able to top it. So I decided to do something special in order to do Equestria Girls Month. And in all honesty, judging of how my opinions of Equestria Girls has changed over time, let's just say that without Equestria Girls Month, there isn't going to be Equestria Girls Month. Believe me when I say this, while I did what I could in order to make this month good and entertaining, keep in mind, if it wasn't for Summer Palooza, I don't even think I would be able to do a month involving Equestria Girls, or basically anything in general, since that I've been making these videos before I got into other cartoons, which is really saying something on the fact that I had less to work with, and I still managed to pull it off at the end. When it comes to before Summer Palooza 3, just before that, I did We Bear Bears Month. And in all honesty, since that I got into the series, I thought I was exaggerating when I was going to be doing a We Bear Bears Month at the end of 2020, but since I actually did it in 2021, yeah, it really feels weird to think that whenever you commit something, and the fact that you actually did that commitment, I'm gonna be really real with you, We Bear Bears Month, while being something I'm trying to get into, wasn't as complicated as I thought. Like, I had to rewatch the episodes, sure, but at the same time, the reason why I gave We Bear Bears a month of its own is because I was really into the series a lot more than necessary. And the fact that I came up with these assumptions when it comes to my perspective in the videos, like the Icy Nights videos, for example, along with the limo episode, I skipped it a bit, the limo episode, well, it was the longest video that I did, well, aside from the top 10 We Bear Bears baby episodes. I was really trying to make these videos special, because as far as I'm concerned, when you look into these videos into consideration on the fact that I want to do something special before Summer Palooza happens, and after Summer Palooza, mainly Equestria Girls Month, was literally just trying to give my subscribers something to keep them occupied before the big main event happens. Yes, it may be a bit overboard to do a month involving a cartoon or anything for that matter, but as far as I'm concerned, When it came to Summer Palooza 4, mainly from last year, I had zero plans into doing a month dedicated to anything, and the closest that I ever did was LGBT month, but that was in June. Well, summer happens during that month. Like, I was instantly burned out by doing LGBT month, but I knew it was one of the final videos I wanted to do before I instantly get burned out. Because let me tell you, if you really think for a second that doing a month dedicated to LGBT is something that I have no plans on doing again nowadays, you would probably understand on how difficult it is to do a month dedicated to something that is celebrated during that month, or a cartoon that you're highly into. Which, for me personally, sums up a lot onto why that after I did the videos at LGBT month, let's just say that when you look into the broken character development of Linking Loud, which is one of the only videos I did in August, 6th of August of 2022, this really feels like Summer Palooza, but at the same time it really isn't, considering that I put my main focus on these projects after doing recent projects that really got in the way, that after doing those videos, it's probably worth it than saving them for later. And for me personally, doing Summer Palooza 4 was literally a lot more difficult to get back into when I did make the videos in 2022. For those of you who don't know, in May of 2022, which was around the time I was instantly burned out and and I was finishing my Wee Baby Bears vs. SpongeBob Camp Cola video, it's while I was working on the Summer Palooza videos, mainly the YouTuber tributes, and a few reviews that I ended up deleting, while also forgetting to delete one video that I ended up uploading in October of 2022, mainly last October. Now, I deleted those videos because it was a lot more difficult, and for me personally, it would just probably give me more pressure than I already have. Like, believe me when I say this, if I did upload those YouTuber tributes, it would probably be a lot more difficult to take them seriously, since that I'm not really into making YouTuber tributes anymore. And since I've already made a Lonely Vibes video centering around that, it sums up a lot that I haven't did those videos anymore. And when it comes to a few reviews, the only ones that I remembered were the Loud House Sandcastles, Victorious, the Slap Fight, and iCarly I Meet the First Lady. Which for me personally, I didn't like doing those reviews, well, aside from the Victorious one. And considering that I'm planning to do one of those reviews for Summer Palooza 4, it's really saying something that this year's Summer Palooza 4 is called Beach Paradise for a reason. Now, these are the 8 videos that I ended up publishing in one day. The Batman 2022, the Loud House Inc. or Swim vs. the Classic Conte Sink or Swim, Wee Bear Bears Pirates Lake, Adventures Infinity War, Camp Lazlo, Where's Lazlo, Steven Universe Meal Gem and Ocean Gem, Shawn Shawn Time After Time, and Victor and Valentino's Welcome to the Underworld. I kept these videos up because they felt the most important out of the entire batch of videos that I've made. And for me personally, judging of how that these videos were literally the only thing I could think of, and I didn't want to delete them in order to put them to waste, I wanted to publish them in order to at least give my subscribers something, except that I've uploaded them all in one day. I know it's not really a good idea to upload these videos all in one day, since I used to do that, but at the same time, I wasn't feeling myself like I was back in May of 2022, because believe me, a lot has happened. Like, I was focusing on the Camp Cola vs. Wee Baby Bears video, the videos involving LGBT month was literally the last things I wanted to do, and I have reconsidered on doing a Loud House video like the video that I've showed you earlier, the book and character development of Lincoln Loud. So it really feels like the longer videos and the stress that I went through back then was literally one of the reasons onto why Summer Palooza 14 became a thing last year. And now it's becoming a thing this year, but let's just say that this year's Summer Palooza just is gonna be like the last Summer Paloozas, but it's gonna be focusing around beaches. And when it comes to Loud House vs. Casagrande videos, they're not gonna be part of Summer Palooza, and most of the days on Sunday, they're gonna be summer related and they're gonna be part of Summer Palooza, but it has nothing to do with Versus. Like, I may do Loud House vs. Casagrande's projects that may have summer themed, but at the same time, I don't qualify them as Summer Palooza material now, like they were back in the day, because Summer Palooza 4 Beach Paradise, I want to take it legitimately seriously as being a season involving summer, and while there may be a few exceptions, at the same time, it would actually make it stand out differently in comparison of Summer Paloozas 1, 2, and 3. And while I'm not gonna be doing the same thing like I did in the past by doing a video for one day, it's not like that I'm sacrificing anything, because if I did this last year, it would be confusing, but at the same time, it would have been a lot more better, but people would have been questioning onto why Summer Palooza just isn't as it was. And yes, I understand that this Summer Palooza is gonna be off when it comes to people who watch my Summer Palooza videos in the past, but believe me when I say this, I'm starting to do less is more, and since that I'm connecting July and summer to each other, like being part of Summer Palooza 4 in general, like combining them, then it would give me more time and less stress. Like, I miss Summer Palooza, I really do. But at the same time, you never know what the future is going to be like if you keep doing these constantly. And believe me, what I said at the end of my final video, which is Pokemon Winter in the Temple of the Sea. If there's one thing I am looking forward to when it comes to next year's Summer Palooza, if there is going to be one, is how it's going to be different compared to the other 3 Summer Paloozas that have been completed, because as far as I'm concerned, only time will tell. Well, what I said in that video is truthful, and remember what I said in the end of my final review of LGBT month? Believe me when I say this, the unexpected can always happen, and this was made before I had the consideration of doing a Summer Palooza 4 back then. And as for Summer Palooza 4, let's also see what happens. It never happened. It never happened. Summer Palooza 4 never happened, all because I was exhausted. I really made these videos way ahead of time, and I was way too into the zone than to reconsidering. So if there's one thing I'm going to address is that once you see more videos involving Summer Palooza 4 Beach Paradise, don't expect much from me, but I am trying to make this as good as the other Summer Paloozas, but not in the way that I used to. Keep in mind, there is possible fanfic ideas and other ideas in the meantime, but keep in mind, this is literally all I have to offer. And when it comes to Lonely Vibes to Summer Palooza, keep in mind, that's basically all I feel involving the season of summer. Hopefully this season of summer will be memorable just like these Summer Paloozas.